we propose to rationalize the government of Kenya funded development budget by 138.5 billion Kenya shillings, and this includes 8.3 billion from the NGCDF in synchronization with the revised revenue projections, 1 billion from Parliament, and 800 million from the judiciary. And at 10, we list some of the proposed development budget cuts. They will include some of these, not all, but we're just listing some. And there, Mr. Chairman, you will notice that we are going to have to slash 14.6 billion for electrification of public facilities. That is the last mile item. We will have to slash 14.1 billion from the roads, 6.5 billion from water, sanitation and irrigation projects, 6.5 billion from the police modernization project, 5.2 billion from the school infrastructure improvement, 3.3 billion for university infrastructure, 3.3 billion for settlement of the landless, 3.1 billion for construction and equipping of TVET institutes, and 2 billion from the Hustlers Fund. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm just flagging this because the haircut that we are taking calls for very tough measures, some of them unpleasant, but we have to do that. In terms of additional expenditures, we have proposed additional allocations for critical government programs in the financial year 2025, as indicated on paragraph 11, and you have touched on some of them. 2 billion for coffee debts, 1 billion for sugarcane farmers reforms, 500 million Kenya shillings for KCC factories to support the milk, 500 million for the tree planting programs, 450 million for the leather factory, Kenene leather factory, and 200 million for Hides Fund. Mr. Chairman, on paragraph 12, we also indicate that we close the year, financial year 2023-2024, with some carryovers amounting to 218.5 billion. And out of this amount, we propose to factor 68.1 billion in the financial year 2024-25. That means we are bringing it back into that. And this will cover 23.8 billion for pensions and gratuities, 30.8 billion for transfer to counties, and 13.5 billion for the NGCDF. Mr. Chairman, in view of the above adjustments in the development budget, some of the key areas to be funded in the financial year 2024-25 development budget are also provided in table 2. So that gives the detail, and the total amount we are talking of is 203.3 billion Kenya shillings. Here we say that the National Treasury prepared the financial year 2024-25 supplementary estimates number 1 in accordance with Article 223 of the Constitution and Section 40 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 412A. The focus, Mr. Chairman, of this financial year supplementary estimates is to align the budget to the revised fiscal framework following the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024. Mr. Chairman, I'm sure members are aware that the National Assembly considered and approved the financial year 2024-25 expenditures, which were contained in the National Assembly Appropriations Bill number 34 of 2024. and His Excellency the President assented to it. The budget was to be funded through additional revenue measures amounting to Kenya shillings 344.3 billion, which were contained in the Finance Bill 2024, which everybody now knows that the President declined to assent to, resulting in a financing gap of similar amounts. And the reasons for his decline are well known to all Kenyans. So he did decline to assent to that bill. In view of this, the Treasury has prepared the financial year 2024 supplementary estimates, number one, to cut down on planned activities and projects to close the financing gap of the said figure of 344.3 billion and to align the budget to the revised fiscal framework. Mr. Chairman, the proposed realignment covers quite a number of areas, but let me just flag. As indicated earlier, the withdrawal of the 2024 Finance Bill forced the government to forego an estimated revenue amount of 344.3 billion. The government will nonetheless continue the implementation of the revenue-raising measures contained in the Finance Act of 2023. So the 2024 is out of the way, so we are working on the basis of the 2023 Finance Act. Now, to ensure the expenditures, Mr. Chairman, I'll draw members to page 3, item 7. To ensure that expenditures contained in the financial year 2024-25 Appropriations Act are aligned to the revised fiscal framework, we propose the following measures. 1, expenditure rationalization. 2, adjustment of the projected revenue and borrowing. And 3, to implement policy measures to contain wastage. The rationalization of the budget, Mr. Chairman, calls for the following. The National Treasury proposes to rationalize tax revenue, that is for GK-funded, Government of Kenya-funded expenditures, allocations in the recurrent and development budget for ministries and departments and agencies, including allocations to the constitutional commissions, independent offices, parliament, the judiciary, and shareable allocation to county governments as provided in Table 1 in your document. So basically, Mr. Chairman, I'm affirming your position that everybody is taking a haircut. There's no exception whatsoever. Mr. Chairman, your committee, through you, raised some very specific questions to be responded to. Question number 1 was, what are the growth prospects for the financial year 2024-25 amid the prevailing uncertain economic environment? Mr. Chairman, the Kenyan economy is currently unwinding from the effects of negative and persistent global domestic shocks that have pushed the economy to its lowest activity level. The shocks included COVID-19 pandemic and effects of climate change, from the prolonged drought in 2021 to the floods in 2024. These shocks escalated the cost of essential household commodities. They also pushed up fuel prices and led to a rapid depreciation of the Kenya shilling exchange rate, thus piling pressure on public debt. Mr. Chairman, through focused policy interventions and structural reforms, the government efforts have started to yield some positive results. The economy grew by 5.6% in 2023, up from 4.9% in 2022, a demonstration of resilience and the sustenance of economic recovery. This growth momentum has continued into 2024, with the economy expanding by 5% in the first quarter, and it is projected to grow by 5.5% by the end of the year. This growth is largely driven by a strong rebound in the agricultural sector, which benefited from favorable weather conditions after 2 years of severe droughts. Additionally, service sectors remained resilient, with tourism, transport, real estate, financial, and ICT services supporting growth. Private domestic demand is expected to remain resilient, even as the public sector consolidates further, while providing support for government initiatives aimed to benefit people at the bottom of the income pyramid. Mr. Chairman, this strong growth will be reinforced by ongoing interventions under the bottom-up economic transformation. The better objectives are bringing down the cost of living, eradicating hunger, creating jobs, expanding the tax base, improving foreign exchange balances, and inclusive growth. The MTP4 adopted a value chain approach with the better core pillars and key enablers clustered under 5 sectors, that is finance and production, infrastructure, social, environment and natural resources, and governance and public administration. Economic growth over the medium term will be driven by raising agricultural productivity, transforming the micro, small, and medium enterprise economy, increasing investment in housing and settlement, strengthening healthcare through universal health coverage, and investing in the digital superhighway and creative economy. Mr. Chairman, let me draw members to paragraph 25. That is on inflation. Inflation is now firmly under control at 4.6% in June 2024, from 7.9% in 2023, and a peak of 9.6% in October 2022, due to easing of food and energy prices. The appreciating shilling produced a strong pass-through effect to lower domestic prices, supported by a tight monetary policy stance and interventions by government in providing subsidized fertilizer and seeds, which continue to lower the cost of food production, but also revitalize agricultural production. Inflation is projected to remain within the target band over the medium term. Mr. Chairman, as you know, the target band is between 2.5 up to 7.5. Tight monetary policy to stabilize inflation has led to rising interest rates and a slowdown in the growth of the private sector credit. The interbank rate increased to 13.3% in June 2024, compared to 9.6% in June 2023, while the 91-day Treasury bills rate increased to 16% from 11.5% over the same period, thereby increasing the cost of borrowing by government from the domestic market. So, Mr. Chairman, the flip side is that when we don't have revenue, then government has to borrow. So the interest rates are beginning to rise in the domestic market, because now the government is beginning to re-enter into that space. This is really unprecedented because it's the first time in the history of Kenya that a supplementary estimate is coming into place barely a month after the new financial year comes into force. So we are truly living in completely uncharted waters, and therefore this calls for very tough measures. I think, let me just put it on record, that I'm acting in so many ministries, but I want to assure Kenyans I'm not earning any acting allowance. Because tough times call for austerity measures. So I think it should go on record that that is the position. Commercial bank lending to the private sector declined to grow by 4.5% in April 2024 and 7.9% in March 2024, down from 13.2% in March 2023. This has had negative effects on private sector activities. The consequences of fighting supply-driven inflation is that it has negative effects on economic vibrancy in the short term. So basically, we are living in a dangerous situation where we are beginning to slow down the private sector from a trajectory that was picking up. Mr. Chairman, the current account balance or the current account deficit improved to 3.9% of GDP in the 12 months to April 2024, down from 4.7% of GDP in a similar period in 2023. And this was supported by 7.7% decline in goods imported, reflecting lower imports across all categories except machinery and transport equipment. Here you can also say that we benefited from the increased food production, and therefore there was less of food imports. Our exports increased by 2.9%, reflecting increased exports of agricultural commodities and re-exports. Mr. Chairman, tourism receipts rebounded faster than anticipated to their pre-COVID-19 levels. Tourist arrivals improved by 27.2% in the 12 months to March 2024, compared to a similar period in 2023. So that was a real good show from the tourism sector. Mr. Chairman, remittances increased by 12.8% to US $4.5 billion in the 12 months to May 2024, compared to 3.997 billion over a similar period in 2023. This increased forex inflows into the country. Some went to investment while others supported household consumption. That means there's a very strong growth in the diaspora remittances. Mr. Chairman, tight policies and flexible exchange rate, coupled with initiatives to attract foreign direct investment and enhance export performance, are anticipated to help stabilize the current account deficit around 4% of GDP in the medium term. So whatever we do, we must make sure that we are not chasing away foreign direct investment as a nation. Mr. Chairman, our foreign exchange reserves, the official foreign exchange reserves, which stood at 7.8 billion US dollars, that is an import cover of 4 months, 4.1 to be precise, was available up to May 2024. And this continues to provide adequate cover and a buffer against any short-term shocks in the foreign exchange market. The exchange rate to the dollar has stabilized in the range of 128 to 131 since February 2024. The exchange rate to the dollar stood at 129.5 by end June 2024, from an all-time high of 160.8 by end of January 2024. Through the repayment of the 2024 Eurobond, the government successfully removed the investor uncertainty and market perception improved significantly. The appreciation and stability of the exchange rate has created confidence and triggered inflows of foreign direct investment and attracted investors to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This appreciation has helped to reduce debt service costs, improve performance of domestic borrowing, and stabilize interest rates.